What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another DFS DraftKings video. I know I am super late bringing this video. We only have a few hours until kickoff, but I said, you know what? Better late than never. Might as well get it out and see what happens. There's 3 free rolls today on DraftKings. One, obviously, is the regular, which is from today until tomorrow, and then there's 2 showdowns. I'm not really going to show the showdowns because those are serious, just throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping that lineup sticks. But the regular, standard free roll on all games usually is the one where you have the most success at, because one, it's one entry. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm becoming more of a fan of single entry contests rather than multi-entry. Single entry contests, it's like, you get one pick, and I feel like I know on numbers wise you have probably a better chance of doing multiple lineups, but I did multiple lineups throughout the course of the year, and I found it was pretty tough to even with multiple lineups, maxing out your entries in smaller or lower cost contests. It's just there's just infinite amount of lineups that you can do, and there's people out there who've got these lineup makers based on numbers, and it just gets so convoluted, and you start overthinking, and then you start second guessing. With these single entries, in my opinion, everybody in there is on the same playing field. They have one shot at getting a lineup correct, and I feel like the playing field is a little bit more even. So with that, I'll go ahead and mention last week. Last week was a disaster as far as my picks went. I was pretty on the money with some of them, but a lot of my predictions kind of fell flat. I was close with the Raiders. Raiders almost pulled off the upset against the Bengals, but and for 5 minutes it looked like the Steelers was actually going to make a game out of with the Chiefs. But as we all know, it was a disaster. Same with the Patriots game. And we can all just point and laugh at the extra playoff teams, because it was just a waste of time. It was such a waste of time. Great for fantasy football, great for DFS, but it was a waste of time on the grand scale of things. But with that being said, let's go ahead and just get down to business. So starting at a quarterback, I'm going with Tom Brady. I know everybody is looking at Mahomes and Allen with their 10 touchdowns between the two of them, passing touchdowns in their last games. Highly unlikely that it's going to happen again, especially since the two of them are facing each other. Then there's Aaron Rodgers against San Fran. At home, I feel like that's a safe bet. You could go with Aaron Rodgers. You're going to pay just a little bit more than you would with Tom Brady. And then the rest of the quarterbacks, Burrow, Stafford, Tannehill, Garoppolo. Garoppolo and Tannehill don't really like in these contests. Both of them are heavy on the run. Both teams are heavy run oriented. You saw what Elijah Mitchell was able to. Is it Eli Mitchell, Elijah Mitchell, whatever his name is? I don't think I have him in this lineup. Eli Mitchell. Elijah is the wide receiver with the Jets. So yeah, they had success running the ball. Garoppolo didn't have to throw too many times. He didn't throw any touchdowns. Tannehill, they're getting Derrick Henry back, and that's why you see Derrick Henry in the slot. If they're going to win this game against Cincinnati, they have to control the game. They have to dictate how the pace of the game, and Derrick Henry has to have a Derrick Henry kind of day. And before he got hurt, I think there were only 2 games where they did not run him over 20 times. Only one game. All the other games he ran over 20 times, and he was averaging 117 yards per game. He had 11 touchdowns across 8 weeks. Insane. And then he went down with injury, and he also, let's not forget, he's also a decent receiver. So the offense definitely goes through Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown did a good job of picking up the slack. But with Tom Brady, I'm like jumping ahead here with Derrick Henry. Sorry. After holidays, all that stuff, still getting my feet underneath me, as well as my bout of the coof. So, all right. So Tom Brady, last game, not a bad day at the office. 2 touchdowns, 271, no turnovers, 18 fantasy points. That's why at $7,300, that's why his price dropped down to 68. I think that's a great option price point for Tom Brady against the Rams. Leonard Fournette being down, they have Gio Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn, and I think that's it. I don't really know who the other running backs are. And I think if the Buccaneers are going to win, obviously it's going to go through Brady. And I just like his probability a lot better. You could go with Stafford, but Stafford only had like an average. I mean, he threw for 200 yards and threw 2 touchdowns, but the only reason he had more points than Brady was because he had the QB sneak. So I know the pass defense for the Buccaneers isn't great, but their pass rush is where they're going to really dominate the game, in my opinion. You could go with Stafford, save more money, and get some more high rollers at wide receiver or tight end. But this I feel a little bit more safe with on Tom Brady. Obviously, Derrick Henry, I already mentioned him. I went with Aaron Jones against San Fran. Aaron Jones has had a decent year. I think, no, he only missed like 1-2 games maybe. And that was mainly because they've been throwing the ball a lot, I think. And also he's been splitting a lot of time with A.J. Dillon. But I think in the playoffs, Aaron Jones at home is a solid option. Tyreek Hill at $6,600 is a very good price. And I felt like taking a shot with Kansas City. I mean, with Kansas City, there's so many playmakers. You literally can go with anybody. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even Byron Pringle, who had 2 touchdowns, I think, against the Steelers. So it's really your preference on that. I went with Tyreek Hill just because of he is the most explosive player on the team next to Travis Kelce. Then I wanted to get at least one Cincinnati player, so I went with Tyler Boyd. It was honestly the most affordable option in order to fit in some other options here after putting in Jones, Hill, and Derrick Henry. I could only really afford Tyler Johnson. I don't feel great about that pick, but with the receiving core for Tampa Bay being so spotty after Mike Evans, I did not notice this. Brashad Perryman is out. I did not know that. Oh, okay. Well, that opens the door for Tyler Johnson a lot more. There's also Cyril Grayson, and I know they, against the Jets when Antonio Brown lost his mind and left the game. I know he had a big game there, but we'll see. He didn't do anything against the Panthers, and he didn't even play again. I don't think he played, obviously, in the playoff game. I still think Tyler Johnson, especially now with Perriman being out, I think Tyler Johnson's a solid option. And then, of course, at tight end, I went with Dawson Knox. I know he's definitely not going to have this game again unless a miracle happens. But he could still end up catching 4 or 5 passes. Really, you're looking for end zone with Dawson Knox. You're really hoping he gets into the end zone, which is a huge possibility. There really wasn't much outside that. You could go with George Kittle against Green Bay. He had a quiet game against Dallas. He had a very quiet game against the Rams. He's had he's had a quiet stretch. See, this is what happens. Now I'm making this video and I'm actually starting to second guess. Can I afford that? I think I can. All right. Well, you can go with either. If you really want to pay up and like go down a notch somewhere, you could take Tyreek Hill out and go with like Byron Pringle and throw in like Gronk or maybe even Kelsey. You could afford it. I'm going to throw in Kittle because I don't have any San Fran players and I hate fading an entire team. And I feel like Kittle is due just based on numbers. He hasn't had a big game since week 15 against Atlanta. And he only had 93 receiving yards is fine, is great for a tight end, but he didn't score. And he hasn't scored since week 14 where he went off against the Bengals. And so I think this is a safer bet. Green Bay's defense is pretty good against the run. They're not great against. They've been a little vulnerable against the pass, and I know it's asking a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo to go out and win you a game, but I think it's possible. I think it's worth taking that risk. Again, with tight ends, really, it's one of those things where you're just trying to pick the person who's going to get the most targets and has the highest likelihood of getting a touchdown. And if you want to pay up, Gronk and Kelsey obviously are the number one and number two option there, but that's if you want to pay up. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. This isn't like a definite way to win, but I'm just showing you with what I think is the best option, obviously. Cam Akers in the flex, I think, was, in my opinion, the best option. You could, if you're following my lineup, with 200 and remaining and 5,500, that's 57, you could go T. Higgins. It's been pretty quiet since the game against Baltimore. He's a big target. He had over 1,000 yards receiving. He started out on fire with a pair of touchdowns in the first two games. Then had a pretty quiet streak as far as scoring goes. He caught a lot of passes. So he had a really good season. Now I'm second guessing myself again. I feel like the likelihood of T. Higgins actually scoring and having a bigger impact than Cam Akers is very solid. So I'm going to do that. I normally don't like having two receivers on the same team playing in a game, but I feel like the Bengals are going to be throwing a lot more in this game. And then for the defense, I went with the Chiefs. I feel like the Chiefs have the best chance of having a big game against the Bills. Could be wrong. At the affordable price rate of $2,800, you could have easily picked, the Packers or the Buccaneers. In the playoffs, it's tough picking a defense because you're 80% of the time you're picking against some of your players by picking a defense. But so I just went with they were 2,800, and I felt like they had the best chance at making a big play. I know I just said I don't like fading an entire team, but I am fading some Buffalo players here. Let me see. Could take Tyler Boyd out and fit in Gabriel Davis. He did have a touchdown, but he just doesn't see the field enough. I know he had 14 targets against the Jets. I'm trying not to make this video too long. It's not too long right now. Could do that. You could go with Emmanuel Sanders. He at least sees the field a little bit more, sees a little bit more targets, I think, than Davis. Davis had, these games, I think Sanders was injured, so he was in that role a little bit more. Beasley has been very quiet this year. I thought he was going to have a much bigger role in the offense like he did last year, but he's had a particularly quiet season. 83 catches is fine, but only one touchdown, and that's really not what you're looking for. Could go Van Jefferson. He's been pretty quiet recently, but with Robert Woods being down, yeah, the emergence of OBJ. Could go. Nah, we have Tyreek Hill. I don't want to. Like I said, I really hate doing two receivers on the same team. So this is basically where you end up. If you're following my lineup, you can sub out some of these players to which player, whoever you think has a better chance of actually scoring. And I think either a Rams receiver or a Buffalo receiver has the best chance. I feel like those two teams will be throwing a lot more, so I think the opportunities will be there. You can go, like I said, Gabriel Davis. Heck, you could even go Green Bay receiver Alan Lazard, and I think that might actually be an option I go with. Or Cobb. You could go Cobb. He is a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers, and he's back in the lineup. Well, anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. You guys can literally do whatever you want if you're following this lineup. But yeah, I think Green Bay, Buffalo, or Rams receiver would probably be best if you're going to swap out here at 48. If you're like me, you try not to have the two receivers on the same team, though it could benefit. I think you could stick with that, but if you really wanted to squeeze in to get some more, make your lineup a little bit more diverse and get some representation across all the teams to try and maximize your points, that's something that's obviously something you can do. And like I said, my go-to would be a Green Bay receiver like Cobb or Lazard, Buffalo receiver like Sanders or Davis, maybe Beasley, but that's a long shot, or Rams receiver Van Jefferson would be a decent option, because obviously all the attention is going to be on Cooper Kupp and Odell. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking because I can just go on and on and on about all this stuff, and adding some more reasons to have Lazard or Cobb as MVS is doubtful for the game tonight. So there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Best of luck with your lineups. Let's make some money, hopefully, even if it's like 10 cents. And I'll catch you all on the next one.